What was I talking about, Jason?
We were talking about the whole PS4, the Xbox 360 upgrade, and all that other stuff.
I swear, if we're gonna keep having internet problems, I'm gonna flip my crap. Uh, Gosh dang it! I'm all derailed now. Look, first of all, I get being annoyed at this whole thing. Just to reiterate my point really quick.
Mhm.
You're an early adopter, you get into the console, and then for some reason they come out with a newer version, and you feel like you're the one that helped the console be successful. You were there from the beginning, and then when they make an improved one, the only way to move to it is to give them more money, sell your previous one just to get the better experience. I
Right.
would argue that the difference between 1080p and 4K, though nice, is not such a significant boost from going from 480 to 1080p that it's a necessity to make that huge transition over to 4K. So I would argue it's not as big a deal. If you're getting it for multiplayer for the higher frame rate, it is downscaling the frame rate so that it equals the frame rate of other people, so that some people don't have advantages in multiplayer.
See, I agree with you, it, but it's like I see the point that he's trying to make as well. It's like, yeah, you probably don't actually need the added functionality that you're going to get from
No, I
this
get it. We like
smaller
our
boost.
toys, and you want the nicer one.
Yeah.
But this is optional. I don't actually see a lot of motivation to move to the Pro. If I could sell my PS4 for $200, I would sell it and then fork out the extra 200 for the Pro. But I
Hmm.
don't think I could probably get 200 for my PlayStation 4 at the moment.
Probably not.
Not used. Um, I think if I were to ever be annoyed at the newer version and want a better version, it would be the fact that I have an Xbox One
Hmm.
and they're coming out with the new fancy Scorpio or whatever in a year or so.
Right.
I like the Xbox One, but I just bought it and I feel like I just forked out money for it. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
that's what would annoy me more. Is I'd be sitting here going, I'd rather have the Xbox One newer version than PS4, because the PS4 is a great console. I'm not so butthurt about the fact a Pro is coming out, to address the fact that it's just moving into the PC realm where you have to upgrade to the new one to have equal. I don't know, maybe that's where it's going. It still uses the old games. I've heard people speak positively about the potential of being able to have this sort of thing happening. Like,
See.
imagine a world where you have a new console every now and then, and if you want to upgrade to the new console, that's great. And if you don't, that's fine. But the new console always plays the previous generation stuff, and the new console always gives you more to it. So you could choose to skip the new console and then buy the one after that and still be able to play all the games on the console you currently have and all the games on the next one and the next one. Do you see what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I get it. And I was gonna say that it makes sense that this would happen because it's been however long since the last console, since the original console was released. Uh, they probably have access to technology that they didn't have at that time. I'm sure they would have liked to put it in at the time, but it would have, bumped the price up a lot more than they were looking for. Now it makes it so that, hey, we can put in this great stuff that we would have done before, and it still doesn't affect the price. But that doesn't mean that you're going to feel any better about it.
I suppose. I I don't really care about the PS4 Pro. Like, there's not enough features there for me to go, I need to get this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's improved, it's better frame rates, but I'm not somebody that obsesses about frame rates. It's nicer resolution, but I don't have a 4K television. It allows you to stream 4K stuff, but I don't have a 4K television. At best, the game might be slightly better.
Right.
For me, improved frame rates, maybe improved ability to do what some dynamic lighting or something, but I wouldn't really notice. And I consider most technological changes nowadays when it comes to gaming to be minor leaps as opposed to great jumps, where we had the jump between 480 to 1080.
Right.
So I don't really consider 4K to be that big a deal, and I don't. It's like, think about The Last of Us on the PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful game. Really great looking. There are games out there that look better than it, but I can't say that it's such a jump from that game to what we now have in the PS4, where I'm like, oh, well, it's so different now and everything's... You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't say that I've seen a game come out recently where it's like, this is the most beautiful game I've ever seen. One of the launch games that came out for the PS4, I would consider one of the, like, peak in its graphic capability. Launch game. I haven't seen anything that makes me go, oh crap, well, I've got to... This is great.
Gotta get that one.
Yeah, nothing seems to be jumping so far ahead in graphic capability that I'm like chomping at the bit trying to get each new thing, because it's like, oh, they're so pretty.
Well, the other thing is that even if you have the ability with your PlayStation to push 4K graphics, you're going to have to go out and get a new TV.
But it's not true 4K. That's the other stupid thing.
Yeah,
it's simulated, it's upscaled, it's not actually like natural 4K.
Right.
So saying, so I can get this resolution, it's not actually perfectly 4K, it's not the same as having a purely 4K experience. So I don't know what to tell you. If this is a console you want and you're annoyed by the fact that you already invested in something from them, because consoles aren't cheap nowadays. But the $300-400 is somewhat of investment in your entertainment for the future. And if you're looking at this going, dude, I already spent $400 on your thing. You're coming out with a new console now, and it almost feels like I'd rather have not even bought your console, which added to your success over the months and years and stuff, and just waited for the newer one if I'd have known that there was a newer one. But I run into that same garbage argument. Here's an example of a similar stupid issue I've had.
Okay.
I love Civilization games. I love strategy games in general, but right. I love the Civilization games. I play the crap out of them. I've played 4 a lot. I've played 5 a lot. I mean, we're talking like 200 hours logged into 5, I think. Love the crap out of the game, play them a lot. I do not own all the DLC.
Okay.
Slowly over time, as sales go on, I slowly get a little bit of the DLC more and more, so I can finally get all of the stuff
right
for the game so I can play all the features. I still don't have, I think, at least one big DLC for Civilization 5. And it's A Brave New World.
Okay.
You can buy the collector's edition or the Game of the Year edition or whatever for Civilization 5 that comes with all the DLC for the same amount that I would have to buy that individual DLC for. I don't need a whole new version of the game. I do not need another copy of the game. But it's stupid to the point where it's almost more worth it financially to just wait for the Game of the Year edition to get all the DLC together, rather than slowly buy these over time to try and complete the game and get all of the extra tidbits and all of that. I might as well just wait and get them all at the same time, and it pisses me off. It's like, dude, I bought the game from the beginning. I was there with you. I paid the extra stuff. I'm the reason why this game got to Game of the Year edition, because I was part of the investing in its success. And now there's a Game of the Year edition, and it's so freaking cheap. that the DLC is about, that I still haven't been able to buy or mustered up the money and stuff, is as much as the DLC is, and
which
it
is
annoys the
annoying.
crap out of me. And it happens with every game. It comes out with the Game of the Year edition. And I was like, I own this a while ago. I own none of the DLC for it. I'd like to play more of this. But consider, once again, Dragon Age Inquisition. I think they have a Game of the Year edition or edition that comes with all the DLC. I still don't own any of the DLC for that game. None of it. Played it completely, maxed out the trophies, own none of the DLC. It would probably be about $20, as much as they're charging for the DLC to get the Game of the Year edition. And it's stupid. Why would I need another copy? This is retarded.
Especially with the console versions, but the DLC rarely, if ever, goes on sale. You know?
Yeah. What they should do is, if they come out with a Game of the Year edition, if they love their fans, if they came out with a Game of the Year edition, they should say, okay, Game of the Year edition comes out. If you previously owned the game, all the DLC is now 50% off.
That would be good.
And then you could go, well, I mean, I'd be willing to buy this. And even then, it still might be cheaper to just get the Game of the Year edition than buy all the individual DLC. But at least you don't feel like you're just being screwed and you're forced to buy a second copy of a game that you don't really want to buy because you already own it.
Right, exactly.
And I run into this all the dang time. So I get the frustration of, I already bought into this years ago when it first came out, and now I'm looking at a new version that's better, more improved, and they're basically saying, hey, you know, buy our new thing, all of your stuff is going to look better. And you're like, dude, I already invested in your stuff. Why would I want to spend that much more money? It's the want of the better toy. It's the, if we are being reasonable and you're going, well, and if I was going, well, I mean, I got all the stuff I wanted out of Civilization 5. Why would I want, I mean, am I really going to go back and play it that much to get more out of the DLC? I just want it so that I could feel like I've completed out the game and I have all the features, so if I want to go back, I can play any of the extra stuff. I don't really need it.
No,
after having beaten it and played it and not played in any of the DLC, do I need the DLC? Of course not. I want it, and I actually would play the Dragon Age DLC if I got it, but I don't have it.
See, that's one of the things that makes me hesitate when I go to buy another video game. I sit there and I go, well, are they going to be coming out with more DLC for this game down the road? If they are, maybe I'll just wait for the Game of the Year. For instance,
for us, like me and Chance, we gotta buy the game when it comes out because we're really into it. We gotta buy the console when it starts out, and then we get pissed off when they come out with the cheaper, better version down the road.
See, I have Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City now. Both of them Game of the Year editions. And that's...
I think I have the Game of the Year editions on my PC. I don't have them for PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Which is where I originally played them. And I'd never be able to play the DLC on those because I just don't own the DLC. I just don't. But I happen to find the Game of the Year editions on PC for crazy cheap. And that's sort of one of the consolations I have, is if I play a game on the PS4 when it comes out, because that's where I want to experience it. And then maybe 5 years down the road, I find the exact same game on PC or on Steam on a sale for $5 or $10. I go, I love that game. I'd get it. Then it helps me out. But if I buy it on PC, rebuying another copy of the game just annoys the crap out of me. I want just to get the DLC that I don't have. Gosh dang it. I get the frustration, but I'm not really that annoyed about the PS4 Pro. I don't think that it's a necessary buy, is the thing.
Right.
I think if I felt like it was something I need to get, I would be more annoyed. And I don't think it's one of those where it's like, I gotta get the Pro. It's great. I gotta move on and upgrade to this new console. It doesn't feel like it. So it doesn't feel like enough of an upgrade that it makes it worth it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on because we've got one last paragraph to go through.
Right.
And he says that he did play No Man's Sky between the last time he emailed us and now. And he says at first he hated it, then he gave it another shot and loved it, and now he says it's dead to me. So,
Oh, Chance, you're like a schizophrenic.
yeah.
Or at least
Anyway,
with this game.
he picked up Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and he thinks it's great.
I've
says
heard
he
a
was a
lot
huge-
of really good things about that game. A
He
lot
says
of
he
people
was-
are saying it's just fantastic.
Yeah, and it looks fantastic. He said he was a huge fan of the series. He said his expectations for this game were lofty in his words, but he says that his expectations were met. So,
One thing
No.
I heard that seems to be pretty consistent is the game looks better than the last one.
mhm.
It's, well, of course it would, but
Right.
the story is better. It plays better. Overall, it's a fantastic game that's great. The only thing that falls flat is apparently the ending is not as satisfying.
Eh.
It sort of leaves a lot open,
Uh-huh.
almost like a see you in the next game sort of way. So a lot of people sort of like on the end of it, but otherwise apparently it's a big improvement. It's really fun and great. So I look forward to buying the Game of Year edition.
Yeah,
4
there you
years
go.
from now when I finally get around to playing it. But
And it could be that they'll, that for now that's the end, and maybe they're coming out with some DLC that will tack on another kind of ending. I don't know. It's
expanded.
anyway, yeah. But he says to finish out that he saw the Telltale Batman at GameStop. He thought about getting it, but his backlog of games deterred him from doing that. So he cuts it short. He says, "I hope you guys have a great show. So far, only two downtime. So we'll see what happens next."
Well, technically only one because we're just gonna ignore the one that happened right after the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you with the backlog. What a stupid problem to have. Like a luxury problem where it's like, I just have too much to play.
Too many
I'd like
video
to get
games,
to-
dang it.
I'd like to get to all of this entertainment, but I can't get to all of the entertainment. Oh man, we're spoiled. We're cruising for a bruising because we're too spoiled at this point.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's play
Definitely.
let's play the news dump.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
All right, everybody, it's the news dump. A lot of stories to go through. I'm going to go through this as best I can, as quickly as we can, crossing our fingers. Hopefully we don't crash and burn on the outside. A man out for a jaunt in his DeLorean was clocked by the local police for excessive speeding going 89 miles per hour. Impressive as this is in a DeLorean, and we all know it's good to give your flux capacitor a nice tryout every now and then, we're more perplexed as to what he is doing in this part of the space-time continuum. What a stupid article. Nigel Mills, 55, tried to make the claim that he wasn't trying to time travel, according to the Telegraph. The case was brought to court but then thrown out after the prosecution offered no evidence, which is useful for successful prosecutions, I'm told.
Yeah, just a bit.
I'm not going to get too much into this if you want to read more into the article, because there's strangely a lot more to the article than this. Nothing excessively interesting. I'm just talking about it. But, classically, apparently, in the DeLorean, if you get up to 88, you can, travel in time.
If you've seen that movie, that makes sense.
It makes sense. Moving on, apparently a new Resident Evil full CG animated movie is in the works.
Really?
Called Biohazard Vendetta. Or Resident Evil Vendetta, I assume, because it's Biohazard in Japan. Looks interesting. Looks a little Resident Evil 5, 6-ish stylistically. But I'm game, and when it comes out, I'll watch it. At any rate, keeping on the video game movies, Hollywood is making a Monster Hunter movie. This actually might translate into something interesting. I actually think Monster Hunter... Well, here's the thing, though. Monster Hunter doesn't have a lot of story, Jason. The story is you go around hunting monsters, getting better gear, and then hunting bigger monsters. So you can make a story about freaking anything as long as they're out there fighting giant monsters, swinging huge swords. I'm cool with that. That's super fine with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get... Like, there's no expectations for this film from me. There's no, they got the story wrong from me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I get that. What makes me hesitate here is that it's about hunting monsters with giant weapons. I can see them going way too overboard on that.
Yeah, but that's the point. If all it is them going around hunting huge monsters, I'm cool. I'm cool with that movie. If all it is ends up being sort of a medieval movie while they're hunting dinosaurs, that seems super cool to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Are they? Did they say that this was a live action, or is it
It's a live action.
And see this going the way of...
It could be dumb as all get out. Absolutely.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but World of Warcraft had a story that you could be disappointed in. This does not. I mean, I'm sure there's sort of like, well, you're in the world of blah, 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 but there's really no story to Monster Hunter. Are you joking? True. The point is the grind. You grind, you get better gear, you fight bigger monsters, and the gameplay is fun, and getting new gear and upgrading your stuff is fun. Any other thing is just you're expecting way more out of this than you should be. You know what I mean?
Do they have anybody attached to the project yet?
Not that I saw. Just is in the works. Of course, they've had Uncharted in the works for a while, and it's basically dead and burning at the moment, as far as I can tell.
That's true.
So, yeah, whatever. But good luck, Monster Hunter movie. If it's just a bunch of guys running around with huge swords hitting monsters, I'd watch that. PS4 has a new software firmware update, and it actually is better than the previous one. Go figure.
That's
I'm
good.
actually quite happy with the new setup. I think it's good. I think it's good. One thing I would say though is, and I sort of talked about this with Jason, which we do all the time, but it seems to me every console generation they come out with something and then they slowly update it and improve it to the point where they've sort of tweaked it to a near perfection and everybody's happy with it and everything works, and then they come out with a new console and it's a new stupid version and we don't like it, and it takes them a few updates before we're happy with it, and then they get it to a good point and then they come out with a new console and it's a stupid operating system. You see what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's like they should just take the lessons they learned from the PS3 and the PS4 and go, hey, this stuff works, people like this. Just slightly make the new console operating system, graphically make it look like it's cool and new, because then people feel like they got something out of it. But pretty much have it the exact same with like another update like this one is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Why are you trying to prove on something that's not broken is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the original operating system for Xbox One was apparently garbage. I have the updated one that everybody's finally happy with, because everybody hated the previous one. So I'm cool with it. I quite like the setup and the update. I think it's more user-friendly. It's easier to get the trophies. It's easier to look at your stuff. It's a good setup. Because previously you'd have to push the menu button and then you'd have to go back to the desktop and then go to your friends list or go to the trophies, and it's like you basically fully exit the game. This time you hit the menu button and those options are in the menu button.
That's good.
The PlayStation button in the middle, so that makes sense. In March of 2013, 2 months before Microsoft officially unveiled the Xbox One, They accidentally mailed one of their prototype units to a random customer. For years, that story has remained quiet until today. Over at Business Insider, Ben Gilbert tells the story of a time when Microsoft lost track of top secret hardware. Back in 2013, 25-year-old Jia Li bought a new laptop online, then somehow received a package with a zebra stripe prototype for the Xbox One, which was codenamed Durango. Lee contacted the website Engadget, where Gilbert worked at the time. He eventually found himself talking to Microsoft's people in March 2013. A Microsoft representative arrived at Lee's house and retrieved the prototype Xbox One. Mr. Lee was given a new Xbox 360 and a Kinect for his trouble. He also finally got the laptop he ordered. It's a wild story. Just how does Microsoft accidentally mail a top secret prototype to a random customer? It's also it's almost equally wild that this remained a secret for so long. Gilbert was asked why Engadget didn't report on this back in 2013 when they heard from Lee, and he explained, and this is where it gets interesting, that they used the fact that they knew that the Xbox One existed and that it was there and that they had exclusive inside information, and used it as leverage to negotiate with Microsoft for the exclusive story on the Xbox One when it broke.
So they said, we could expose this, but we won't because you're going to give us
exclusive news coverage for the... Yeah. Which is smart.
Yeah.
Because other than that, or they could have just turned to him and said, we'll give you money for it. Now we have the prototype. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other option I would have gone with. Just be like, we have your prototype. What are you going to do about it? That could have been a huge problem for Microsoft. But unfortunately, that wasn't as bad as it could have been. Interesting story. Shifting on, okay, the big story with Valve and their changes to the Steam thing. Let's just read this and get it over with. Valve has spent this year slowly revamping Steam reviews. And the latest change is a biggie by default. Reviews written by people who obtain a game with a key or anything else not directly within Steam don't factor. Valve explained that they made the change to counter fraudulent reviews and other attempts at score boosting. An analysis of games across Steam showed that at least 160 titles have a substantially greater percentage of positive reviews by users that activated the product with a CD key, compared to customers that purchase the game directly on Steam. There are, of course, legitimate reasons why this could be true for a game. Some games have strong audiences off Steam, and some games have passionate early adopters or Kickstarter backers that are much more invested in the game. But in many cases, the abuse is clear and obvious, such as duplicated and or generated reviews in large batches or reviews from accounts linked to developers. In those cases, we've now taken action by banning the false reviews, and it will be ending business relationships with developers that continue violating our rules. So, for example, a lot of my games are keys, not directly bought from Steam. A lot of them are. So, any of my reviews will not affect the scores if I reviewed those games that I purchased with CD keys. I suppose I might get annoyed with that, but whatever. One of the biggest scams that's been running on Steam for a while is basically developers will go, review our game, give it a positive review, and you have a chance to win a CD key. So people get free CD keys for good reviews, and it sort of screws up the scores. In reaction to this, a bunch of developers are not happy with it. They're pretty pissed off because this has tanked a lot of reviews from people, especially if it's legitimate and the game was a big Kickstarter game or a bunch of other things where they got a key and then they activate it as opposed to purchased it on Steam.
Right. I get why they're doing it. They're like, they're trying to keep...
Yeah, well, it is a big problem.
They're trying to keep people
overinflated
honest.
Reviews and stuff.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that that's what they should be doing.
Well, look at this message from Simon Roth. He says, that's me probably going out of business then. My crowdfunders and direct sales were how I hope to improve my score. Between direct sales, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, I have 16,000 plus users who will never be able to leave me a review that matters to the score. And that is a problem for some of these indie developers.
Right.
Who will rely on scores to sort of up it, to give them a visual face on Steam, because of backers and all those other sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy says, let's see, Death Ray Mantis Rob Fearon said, for some perspective, out of 120 odd reviews, I've just lost 40. I'm fortunate that I've retained very positive because they're all legit. David Pittman, who worked on Eldritch and Neon Struct, offered some perspective in regards to Valve's priorities. I mostly think the Steam review changes are good, but the way it's framed as let's prevent devs abusing reviews instead of let's stop players abusing reviews is disingenuous. Way more of the latter in my experience. So devs are taking it personal, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically Steam is saying that you devs are not trustworthy. We can't trust you to not game the system, so it couldn't possibly be anything else. It must be the devs.
Dave Gilbert of adventure game studio Wadget Eye says, I have seen the review system get abused badly. Just last week I saw a niche title launch with 80 plus reviews that were obviously paid for. Today those reviews dropped to 4, and this was well deserved. That said, however, our biggest fans, the bulk of our customers, purchase from us direct. They're the ones who pre-order and give us word of mouth. These hardcore fans aren't able to post reviews, e.g. the ones most likely to praise the game and give us the best reviews cannot. It is almost an inelegant solution that doesn't make anybody happy.
Yeah.
Which probably means it's a decent solution, but... Is this a big concern? Is there a better way for them to solve this, Jason?
Probably.
What would be your solution?
Well, I would have to say that there would have to be some sort of I don't know, some sort of verification that you actually own the game, not just have a CD key for it. Maybe you can only maybe you have to register the game and then play X number of hours on the game before you can leave a review for it. You have to actually log that many hours on Steam playing the game.
Like you have to have at least 5 or 10 hours or something.
Something like that. So at least you've played the game.
At least that only restricts it from some games, so you probably couldn't get 10 hours out of the game.
Yeah.
But I would say that's a smaller percentage.
Probably.
And giving away free games and then getting people to review those by paying them off is a lot harder if they're required to play it for 10 hours.
Right.
That's actually not a bad solution, Jason.
Sometimes.
Off the top of his head, everybody. Sometimes. I know what I'm doing. Shifting on. Sony is cutting jobs at the company's London studio office. The publisher confirmed to GI.biz today. The layoffs, which reportedly include some senior staff, come as the studio's first virtual reality project wraps up. Regular reviews take place throughout SIE worldwide studios, ensuring that the resources we have in such a competitive landscape deliver our strategic blah 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 statement. This suggests that the downsizing is not out of the ordinary or indicative of Sony not being committed to virtual reality. At the end of projects, there are some layoffs. This is true at Sony and other studios. The specific number of layoffs was not provided. This actually happens in game studios as well.
A lot, yeah.
They get a big dump of layoffs just after a completion of a project. I think a lot of people jumped at this. Is this an indicator that VR is not going where it is? I would say VR is not actually going where everybody was hoping it would be. But I don't think this is an indicator of them losing confidence in the PlayStation VR.
No, the thing is that it could be that right now they're laying off a bunch of people, and what they'll end up doing is hiring them all back for the next project. I mean, there are precedents for this in other industries. I know that there's a Pepperidge Farms, for instance, they fire all their employees in December. Basically, you get laid off in December because they close the factory for December. And then come January, they hire everybody back again. So I'm wondering if this is, an equivalent exchange here where they fire everybody because they can say
They're
we
trying
fired
to
everybody.
resurrect their dead father?
No, like with
Mother. Ugh.
With Pepperidge Farms, it's a ploy so they don't have to
Keep
offer
them on
benefits.
on benefits, or give them paid vacation or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. So if they
I get
do that,
it. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Jason, guess what? The one
What's that?
movie you've been praying for, that Jason's been super excited about, is going to happen, Jason.
Which one's that?
Margot Robbie is setting down roots, and they're going to get a exclusive movie with
A Harley Quinn movie?
Harley Quinn, yeah.
Uh,
A Harley Quinn only movie. She's actually signed up for 2 movies. One a Harley Quinn standalone, and another. I think there's some rumors it's going to be Birds of Prey or something. First of
stupid.
all, I don't like Harley. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was a garbage Harley Quinn. Thirdly, there's no way in hell I'm going to see this film.
No.
Not in your life, and I think they've overestimated her.
The thing is
strength
that
as a character.
I liked Harley Quinn in the Batman the Animated Series television show, but not because Harley Quinn was Harley Quinn, but because she was around the Joker, and the Joker treated her like garbage. And she
Harley
kept,
Quinn is good in relation to the Joker.
Yeah, she kept saying, being all lovey-dovey with the Joker, and the Joker would kick her out of moving cars or whatever it happened to be, because he didn't care about her.
She's also apparently going to be producer on the standalone movie. I don't know. I've heard of anything where she deserves to be a producer of anything.
Yeah, that's.
She doesn't look like she's that good. Why she's a producer, it doesn't make any sense. Good luck to her, though. Hopefully her movie does well. I will not be seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't have to see any trailers. I'm already writing it off.
Pretty much.
I don't have to give it a chance. Screw you guys. Okay, here's this. You don't see this very often.
Uh-huh.
So Bethesda came out and said, we've been trying to bring mods to the Sony PlayStation,
Right.
and we won't be able to bring mods to the PlayStation 4. And it's Sony's fault. And I've never seen something like this fall out, sort of a behind the scenes trying to get stuff to work and negotiate, that sort of thing, where literally one party is pointing the blame at the other one. Let's read on.
So what's their justification?
It's anyone's guess, but Bethesda's chosen to air what sure sounds like grievances with Sony publicly. In a note on its official company site, Bethesda says it's been in discussions with Sony for months, that Bethesda itself has long been ready to offer mod support for the PlayStation 4, but that Sony has informed us that they will not approve user mods the way they should work. The rub, according to Bethesda, involves PlayStation 4 users having the flexibility to do anything they want for either Fallout 4 or Skyrim Special Edition. Like you, we are disappointed by Sony's decision given the considerable time and effort we have put into this project and the amount of time our fans have been waiting for mod support to arrive. We consider this an important initiative, and we hope to find other ways user mods can be available for our PlayStation audience. However, until Sony will allow us to offer proper mod support for the PS4, that content for Fallout 4 and Skyrim on PlayStation 4 will not be available. They are really throwing them under the bus on saying it's Sony's fault you can't have mods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Firstly, okay, from a fan perspective, it sucks because a lot of people love mods. They'd like to be able to play mods. And basically Bethesda's saying Sony's doing it. It's their fault. You won't be able to play have mods on the PlayStation. From Bethesda's perspective, this sucks because they've been working on this for a long time and obviously in talks and constantly back and forth with Sony, and to have put a lot of effort into getting this to work and then finding out that Sony simply will not allow them to do it has got to be frustrating, time-consuming, and something that would piss them off.
Maybe I'm just reading between the lines, but it doesn't to me sound like Sony is saying straight up no. Sony's just saying, we can't allow you to do it the way you want it done.
That's the thing, though. I've heard some more about this, so let's finish. From Sony's perspective, you are allowing downloadable content from random users with no oversight.
Right.
So you could have somebody create a character from, I don't know, Lord of the Rings as a skin and put it into the mod database, and basically Bethesda's saying, well, report it, it'll get a report flag from somebody eventually, and then we'll just have to take it down. Whereas from Sony's perspective, they were probably saying to Bethesda, look, every mod that comes through has to be reviewed and checked and looked into before it hits us, and there's no way we are reasonably going to allow this to go through because we have to be on top of every single mod before we allow it to go. You see my point?
Oh yeah, I get it.
Not only that, but the mods have to go through some sort of quality control so that they don't have viruses, so they don't have malware, so they don't crash the system. There are some mods on the PC where it's like, oh, look at this new... I think there's a mod for Fallout 4 where it increases and ramps up the rain capabilities in the game. But it maxes it out to some ridiculous degree where it could easily crash your PC if it can't handle it. Like, you can't have those sorts of things, so you have to have some sort of testing. And Bethesda's not going to not only review every mod, but do customer testing on every single one that comes through, because the point of a mod is that you just have a big mess of stuff, and people are like, I'm going to try this and put it in and see if they like it or they don't. And I understand Sony's position as a console of why they're like, this is not going to work for us. So I don't blame them.
If something shows up on PlayStation, and it says, this is a protected IP, they're going to go after Sony because Sony has the pockets. They're not going to go after the modder because the modder, it's a modder. The modder's not going to be able to pay for the legal bills or anything like that. But at the same time, Bethesda just wants it to be like it is on the PC.
Yeah. And
but
I think
you can't
it's
go
unreasonable.
After the PC crowd.
Right, it's unreasonable to expect
Sony.
to just throw this in and be like, they can upload anything they want, especially if it's copywritten or proprietary information, like images and that sort of thing. What if it's just a character that's a giant penis? They don't want to release that onto the PlayStation. That might crash their system, that might overtax the PS4, that might overheat the GPU. You see my point? Like, I don't actually think Sony's coming out as a bad guy. I think Bethesda's being a little douchey about this.
I think Bethesda's trying to paint them as the bad guy.
I understand the problem, though, with them sitting there going, we've been working on this for a while, we've been in negotiations, and Sony just told us no. I can understand their frustration.
Right.
Now, clearly we don't know all the information, but there are a lot of issues concerning whether or not you allow mods on the PS4. So let's not start hanging all Sony people at the moment.
No, let's do it anyway.
Yeah, okay. There has been an official recall of 1 million Samsung Note 7 phones.
Wow.
because the Samsung Note 7, for some reason, has had a risk of exploding batteries.
As in just like expanding and breaking
and
the
setting
battery,
the phone on fire.
or
Yeah,
like
yeah,
lighting on fire.
lighting on fire.
Wow.
There are plenty of videos online where you can actually see images of these burnt out husks of phones. Interestingly enough, I love Samsung's phones. I love the crap. I think they're great phones. I like my Galaxy. If I could upgrade to a Galaxy 7 and I could afford it, I would. It's unfortunate that the Note 7s are having these crappy issues and they're being forced to recall, and this is going to cost Samsung crap loads of money. But it's super a problem, and this is one of those memes where it's like, oh, your phone battery might explode. No, it's super exploding now. This is actually a problem.
Just a small one.
I
Come
mean,
on.
look up the images. They're hilarious. At any rate, man, that is a super huge problem for Samsung. I like their products. Keep it up, Samsung. Just as an aside, a story I found interesting. The first tanks went to war 100 years ago today.
Wow. Holy cow, those pictures are awful.
Of the phones?
Oh, yeah.
Darn right they are. So everybody, it's the birthday of the tank in war, which started in active duty at the Battle of Verdun in February 1916.
Wow.
During the Great War. Shifting on, hey everybody, The Last Guardian has been delayed again, which we talked about the part B, but is worth bringing up. It's not been delayed another year or anything, but it has been delayed a month. So unfortunate. Apparently it's playable. People have been playing demos at the big Sony, Japanese consumer market thing they had this last week. Here's the problem though, which isn't part of the article. A few people have played it, and a lot of people are saying it's not good.
Ouch.
And this is a problem for a game that has been in development for like 9 years or something? 8, 9 years?
It's been a while, yeah.
Is it possible that expectations are unreasonable for a game that's been in development for a very long time? Is this something we haven't had a problem with, let's say No Man's Sky?
Well,
That your expectations are far too high and you should deal with the game as is and not think it's going to be the greatest thing since the Bible?
I think that people have a
unreasonable expectation for it?
Yeah. They've seen it and it's like, oh, this is going to be so great. It's blah, blah, blah. Because, obviously we want this and it's...
Well, some of the complaints are the controls are jerky and clunky and the camera's not great. However, in many ways, apparently the controls are jerky and clunky and the camera's not great in the same way that the controls were jerky and clunky and not great in Ico, as well as Shadow of the Colossus, which are games that this developer has also made before.
And everybody loved those.
Also, they said, well, I mean, it feels like you're playing a PS2 game. This game's been in development for a long freaking time, dude.
There's a reason why it feels like a PS2 game.
One of the other complaints is that the big dog character that you're supposed to have this big relationship with doesn't seem to control or act or respond to commands super well. And apparently this is part of the design, because the developer had intended the animal to sort of have a mind of its own, so you're meant to develop a relationship with it, with the AI and how it works and that sort of thing. That can come across as frustrating.
Well, yeah.
When you're saying move here and it doesn't immediately move there, I think he's trying to create an experience rather than a gameplay thing. Apparently the puzzles are brilliant and fun. Apparently a lot of the other aspects are really good. I think these are complaints for a game that probably should have come out in the last generation, and it wouldn't have been that big a deal. But
Right.
they're all expecting some sort of new gen yada yada yada. So I don't actually consider the complaints to be, at least from these complainers' perspectives, that so far out that the game is unreasonable and nobody should play it. But to be fair, I think people have had unreasonable expectations for a game that's been long in development. 9 years. So yeah. No Man's Sky had unreasonable expectations.
And it didn't meet them.
So I don't expect a game that's considered to be the next, like, the lost book from Shakespeare.
What?
That it's going to change the
You
world.
mean I'm not going to find one of those experiences in my video game play?
No.
Man,
But
now
I
I'm
think
depressed.
let's at least pull that hype back and not over freak out about the game and expect it to cure cancer. Shifting on, interesting story.
Okay.
Hollywood may this is a story from CNBC. Hollywood may depict the next generation battlefield as having fully autonomous killer robots. But Defense Secretary Ashton Carter said the U.S. military has no plans to ever use them. Carter, who this week made a trip to the tech cities of San Francisco and Austin, has been an advocate of high-tech weapon systems as a way to counter the growing military threat posed by Russia and China. These include cyber and smart weapon systems that use artificial intelligence. Whenever it comes to application of force, there will never be true autonomy because there will be human beings to make decisions, the defense secretary told reporters traveling with him during the trip. So, unfortunately, we will never see giant robot wars.
Well,
You will have to put that on the back burner.
that's not necessarily likely, for one thing. But the other thing is, like, right now we don't plan on coming out with autonomous killer robots.
Yeah, but Jason, of course he would say that.
Exactly.
Especially if they have killer robots in the back room right now.
I know. They
Uh,
could already have developed autonomous killer robots. It's the government. They would not tell you. Plus, even if he says we're not planning on doing it right now, that doesn't mean in 10 years that they won't change their minds and say, you know what? Remember how we said we're not going to do autonomous killer robots? Maybe we should do autonomous killer robots.
yeah, perhaps.
You know, you know, there's that one guy. He's like, you know,
Come on,
now
we
hear
have
me
to for
out.
the sake of
Hear
it.
me out.
Imagine that you're having a good time inside a multiplayer video game, solving a
Okay.
complex puzzle with your friends in search of a fantastic reward, and the reward turns out to be abject horror. World of Warcraft is getting long in the tooth. Originally released in 2004, every new expansion for the game has upped the ante in order to get World of Warcraft players engaged. The latest expansion, Legion, released on August 30th, includes treasure hunting quests that aren't clearly spelled out. They require sleuthing, exploring, uncovering hidden nooks and crannies in the game's world that players should be happy to discover. A group of WoW players that belong to the Wowhead community embarked on one of these complex treasure hunts, looking for an item called Reigns of the Long-Forgotten Hippogriff.
Okay.
Harry Potter fans probably remember what a hippogriff is. Half eagle, half horse monster that sounds a lot like it's fun to ride. That's probably what the intrepid group of players from Wowhead were thinking when they went looking for this magical artifact. They discovered hidden caves, tracked down magic orbs, trekked all across the Broken Isles, a new area added to WoW by the Legion expansion. The reward for their efforts? Kusamoth the Hungering. Run away, apparently. He's called Kusamoth the Hungering. He is huge. He makes horrible gurgling sounds. Many players are required to kill him. The Wowhead players accidentally unleashed this awful thing when they thought they were completing the quest for Reigns of the Long-Forgotten Hippogriff. They were wrong. Kusamoth is decidedly not a hippogriff. You can discover the Reigns in Legion by finding and activating a bunch of crystals within 8 hours of each other without having to kill a nightmare from out of a Lovecraft novel.
Okay, so basically they
unleashed it and they couldn't fight. They couldn't deal with it. It was too.
They unleashed it on accident because they were looking for the hippogriff thing.
No, Jason. The 8-hour long treasure quest unleashed it. They just didn't know
Right.
that that's what the treasure quest did.
Well, no, what you
They
read
thought
there
that
was
they were trying to unleash a hippogriff, and they unleashed something else.
right. No, they are going after the. You said something about the quest can be completed, and you don't have to unleash the horror, and you can get the treasure. It sounds like they
I'll
were
recall
looking
that. Let's see.
It was like the last.
Accidentally unleashed the awful thing when they thought they were completing the quest for Reigns. I don't know. At any rate, sound like an interesting story. World of Warcraft, still not playing it. Pokemon Go has been downloaded 500 million times. I think it's grown in success outside of this country. I think it's lagged significantly. I haven't seen the hype, at least around here, that it used to have. I think it's slowed down.
I don't see as many people wandering around
Aimlessly, like they don't know what they're doing. Last story of the night. So, the BioShock collection has come out from 2K Games. The 3 games have come out this last week, reported on Part B. People have found, when they've gone onto the game and started to stream it, that it won't let them stream.
Wow.
And they couldn't figure out why. It was some sort of bug. So they started asking on Twitter what was going on. Apparently that is not a bug. It's a feature. You are blocked from streaming the BioShock collection on PS4 or Xbox One.
Wow, that seems weird.
And nobody knows why, because they have not gotten an answer. And the only thing they've gotten from 2K is, unfortunately, streaming BioShock the collection isn't an option right now. So maybe it's in the future. Strangely enough, is not an option at the moment. So you will not be able to stream while you play these games. I thought that an odd story. Why would they? Are they trying to protect, I don't know,
Maybe
plot things or something? But you can't stream it, Jason, even if you wanted to.
Okay, I'll remember that.
At any rate, we're going to call it quits for this podcast. Fortunately, we got through the rest of it without any more crashes.
Yeah.
So we appreciate Chance once again emailing us. Hopefully he can stay more engaged. Good luck with the selling the house and finding somewhere else to stay. We'll be getting out of here. Jason, leave us with something inspiring.
Let's see. I don't have anything inspiring. Sorry.
That is a
You
good
caught
way
me
to
on a bad
end
day.
this. That is a good way to end this podcast. I do not have anything inspiring. Go to hell. Jason's words. Playing the outro.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Distracted Gamers podcast. If you like the show, follow Rhett and Jason, the world's 2 most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter @DG Podcast, or check them out at www.thedistractedgamers.com. If you loved or hated what you've heard here, email them at thedistractedgamers.blogspot.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason will care, since he hasn't any, of course.